Well, hey, church, I hope your weekend has been great thus far. If you're joining us for the first time here at Mix, I'm so honored that you give us some of your time, and we're really looking forward to connecting with you real soon in the future. We've been having some conversations as a church the last few weeks about having compassion and empathy toward our neighbors, and to be honest, we've also been having a lot of conversations with many of you, and one of the questions that we've been asked a lot in this season is, what are we going to do? Now, first of all, I just have to say that I really love this question because it tells me that as a church, we're not primarily concerned with just what we have to say, but rather we have concern for what we're going to do. And so this is a big question right now. And to be honest, in the short term right now, we're all learning what it means to act in the ways that God has called us. I know what this means for me and my family. We're learning what it means for us as a community and as a church as well. But we have a real opportunity next week. See, we have a treat in store for all of us. My good friend, Nick Coleman, the one and only, coming up from Chicago, is going to be sharing a message with you and I about the journey ahead and how we can keep our heart and mind focused on Jesus in the midst of this time. And so I challenge you to make some time and space to lend your ear and hear what God might want to encourage you in next week. As it relates to the long term, Mixed Church is committed to investing into our city in some major ways that attack some of the issues that we see and that exist. And so we know that God has called us to be an agent of change. Now hear me say this, an agent, not the agent, but an agent of change. And so whether it be bringing our church into prisons, like we've told you we fully intend to do, or creating second chance employment opportunities, or maybe even starting a school that provides a high level of education to those who need it most. We're just here to do whatever God calls us, and we're going to put our hands to, and we're going to explore, plan for, and do whatever He asks us to do. One of the things that we're most excited in doing all of this is that we get to do it together. And can I just say, we are so excited to be back together with you soon. But for the next few moments, I'd like to talk to you from the subject of the polarization effect. If you were to put a subtitle on this short little message, maybe we'd say, there are no sides to humanity. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but in our world today, we're often forced into one of two camps. Everyone wants you to pick a side right now. And inevitably, when you do, or don't for that matter, you're made into the meme of whatever it means to be on that side or on this side. And to be honest, I'm afraid that we've lost our footing for disagreement. Now hear me say this. Disagreement doesn't have to be disrespectful. I'm going to say it louder for the people in the back. Disagreement does not have to be disrespectful. And when it is, I'll have to say that I think we're seeing things a little bit wrong. See, we live in a world that's polarized. And because of that, it's never been more important that we see things and see people for who they actually are. Now, friends, I'm not asking us these past few weeks to change our political camp or to move your family or anything extreme. I've just been encouraging us to see people. This is central to the gospel, and as long as we only see issues, it's going to be easy to avoid the people. Now, I have what you might call very sensitive eyes. When I go outside and it's sunny, I always sneeze. I don't know what it is, but maybe I'm allergic to the sun. Who knows? And so because of this, I wear a lot of sunglasses these days, and I also have an issue with sitting on my sunglasses or leaving them at the beach frequently, and so I generally just buy the cheap ones, but that's beside the point. Every once in a while, I get a pair of polarized lenses. And my goodness, does the world look strange through these lenses. Polarized lenses change the way you see things. You start seeing the world in a different tint. And what's interesting is the longer you wear them, the longer that becomes the normal. And so one of my questions today is simply, what lens do we see through? Is it tinted, or do we see things for the way that they actually are? See, I found that often, to get a better look at something, we have to change where we're standing. And today I'd like to suggest to you that if you want to see someone, throw up some sunglasses emoji in the comments if you're with me. If you want to see what Jesus sees, you're going to have to stand where He stands. Come on, church, don't miss that. If you want to see what Jesus sees, we're going to have to stand where He stands. Now in Mark chapter 2 in the Bible, Jesus is found teaching by the lake, and when he was walking along, he saw a man by the name of Levi. We know him as Matthew. And Jesus calls out to Levi saying, "Follow me." And sure enough, Levi goes and follows. Now later that night, Jesus and his disciples are found having dinner. Well, to be honest, it's more of a party with a whole gang of people that the Bible describes as disreputable. Other translations say fellow tax collectors and sinners. And just as Jesus and a whole gang of sinners are having this party, one of the things we have to understand is that these religious leaders in the day despised tax collectors. They were traitors, sellouts. They worked for the government, taking more money than necessary, pocketing the rest. And so when a Jew entered the customs service, he was regarded as an outcast from society. He's disqualified as a judge or a witness in a court session. He was excommunicated from the synagogue. And in the eyes of the community, his disgrace would even extend beyond himself and to his family. And so here you have a whole room full of people who are despised by, looked over, and deemed less than by the religious leadership. And so these Pharisees start badgering some of Jesus' followers, saying, what kind of example is this? Why does he eat with such scum? And Jesus, likely being a great multitasker, had an ear to what they were saying, and he shot back at them this line that's powerful. He says, healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. I've not come to call those who think they're righteous, but those who know they are sinners. What a poignant statement. I've not come to call those who think they're righteous. I've always read this passage, and immediately I've thought that Jesus is making an indictment upon the Pharisees, which he most certainly is. For the most part, their system for religion was set up in a way to make them appear to be righteous or clean. But if they had this all figured out, why were they the ones waiting on a Messiah? And so I'd argue that though this might have been an indictment on their tendency, it was also an invitation to salvation in Jesus. Jesus is giving them a chance to see things for what they really are. What's interesting is that, in fact, the accusation that came against Jesus for hanging out with sinners ironically came from sinners. How do I know? The Bible says this, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And last time I checked, that word all in the Greek, in the original translation, means this, all. But what did the Pharisees see? They saw problems. They saw the people's problem. They saw their sin. What did Jesus see? He saw their hunger. He saw humility. He said, I came for those who know they're sinners. I came for the tax collectors, women, the prostitute, the thieves, the Samaritans, the broken. It's the poor, hurting, and marginalized people whose heart leapt at Jesus because their cry was simple, I need help. You know who Jesus came for? Those who know they're in need. Step one to following Jesus is, I need help. And why do you think Levi would leave such a lucrative business just because some rabbi asked him to follow? Because he knew he needed help. He was aware that his life was not put together. Friends, let us remember that none of us came to Jesus because we were put together. None of us reached our hand out to him because we were walking on stable ground. And so let's remember that the people that we often want to throw stones at, label, and put into a box on a side are just like you and me. And I'm here today to remind you that there are no sides to humanity. But we easily forget that it's not humanity that's the enemy. See, the Bible tells us that our battle, hold up, throw an ear emoji in the comments if you're listening, because what the Bible says is that our battle is not against flesh and blood, aka humanity. It says that our battle is against authorities and powers of darkness, otherwise known as the devil. And so, friends, the battle that you and I are in is a spiritual one. We must not fight it with physical weapons, but we fight it with spiritual weapons. See, prayer here is not our last resort, it's our first response. And believe me, if you'll spend as much time praying about the issues that you see and the people that you see as you do consuming information about it, you're going to stop seeing through the lens of polarity and start seeing things as they actually are. Because the reality is people are not projects, people are not pets, people are not puppets, people are not playing cards, people are your purpose. And friends, when we start making enemies out of what our purpose is, we've missed the reality of Jesus. And so let's turn to him. Our hope isn't in politics. Our hope is not even in policies. Our hope is only fixed on Jesus. And so I might suggest that we see this in even the way we read our Bibles. I admit, I'm often the first to look at the Pharisees and be ashamed. Man, how could they be so blind? But even Jesus, knowing their condition, would still give them invitation after invitation. Jesus cuts right through all sides. He breaks down all boxes that we want to hurl people into. Because Jesus and only Jesus comes into the middle of our mess and takes it all upon himself as if it was his own mess. And so for those of you who are asking right now, where is God in the middle of this mess? You just said it. God in the middle of this mess. God didn't and does not love us at a distance. He runs into the mess. We, however, live in a world where we run away from the mess. This week, my dog puked a couple times in our house, and my gut reaction was to be like, yo, Elizabeth, the dog puked. And she gave me that look like, our dog. Anyways, we're prone to run away from the mess and keep our distance because it's easier. It's definitely easier to feel your cleanness when you keep your distance. But friends, I've already been made clean by the only cleaning agent that has ever removed sin from humanity. And the thing about being made clean by Jesus is you then become the cleaning agent in the world. And so I'm not asking so much today. I'm simply just asking this, that we would take the shades off, that we would see people for who they really are, not their issues, but their humanity. There's no sides to humanity. So right now, we're going to spend a few moments in worship. And here's what I think. Some of you might feel the full weight of your mess right now, and that's okay. And so for the next few moments, I'd encourage you to simply just give that weight to Jesus. Picture him coming and running into your mess, making it his own, and leaving you clean and whole as you leave his presence. He didn't come for those who think they're clean, but for those who know they are not. And so some others of us, though, maybe this is an opportunity to spend some time praying about the things that we often spend more time forming opinions about or posting about. Maybe there's someone in your life that God is causing you to see for who they really are for the first time. So I'd encourage you to go to God with it, to pray for them. Why don't we use this time that we have to hear from God and move forward in freedom together? We love you, church. Like I said earlier, we can't wait to be back together with you real soon.